Good afternoon folks, it's Stuart from the Courtyard Cafe. Welcome back to my kitchen again. The recipe that I'm going to make today is one that the NVQ students in Lisburn will be very familiar with because they've made it with me in the training kitchen. The guys from Ards may not have made it. It's a very simple but very versatile naan bread. A flatbread which is traditionally eaten with Indian food. When we made it in the training kitchen before Christmas, the guys actually had festive sandwiches in it, so some had turkey, ham, stuffing, the works with cranberry. The first stage is to get 125 millilitres of warm water, not too hot, because if it is too hot it could kill the yeast and the bread then won't rise. And to that I'm also adding 1 teaspoon of castor sugar. I'm going to give that just a quick stir and set it aside for 10 to 15 minutes until it starts to get frothy. The flour that I'm using today is a strong bread flour, and I need 300 grams of that. To the flour I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of castor sugar, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and these are nigella seeds or black onion seeds. They are what give naan bread its particular flavour. I have about a tablespoon left, which is what we need for the recipe, so I'll just add those to the dry ingredients. I'm going to put the dry ingredients into the mixer bowl, and to that I'm going to add 25 grams of melted butter. Just melted that, softened it down in the microwave. The recipe also has a half teaspoon of salt. I tend not to add the salt because I don't think the bread needs it. The nigella seeds and the other ingredients give it enough flavour. I do try to reduce salt where possible, and it's something we're working on Unit 296 with making dishes healthier. Slightly unusual ingredient is natural yogurt, and there's 125 millilitres, which is about a quarter of one of these cartons. In the jug I have the yeast, water and sugar mixture. It's got a bit of a froth going, so it has begun to react. What I will then do is close down the mixer and start it up. And add the yeast mixture quite slowly, and the mixer will start to pull everything together. The mixer will pull the mixture together. It never looks as though it will, but it always does a brilliant job. And what it's doing as well is the first stage of the kneading. You can make this bread without a mixer. You simply use a wooden spoon and a bowl. Works perfectly well. What you will need to do is take it out onto the bench for about 10 minutes and knead it to get the gluten working within the bread, because the gluten is what will make the bread soft. Put some flour onto the worktop. I'll use my spatula just to get the dough off the hook. Dust some flour, and what I'm going to do is knead it. Give it probably about 5 minutes. At this stage, a little bit of effort will make a massive difference to the finished bread. You can see that after a few minutes kneading the bread, the texture has changed. It feels quite different, and that's because the strands of gluten have started to work within the dough and make it soft. Now it's a matter of putting it back in the bowl, covering it up with a piece of cling film, leaving it somewhere warm for about an hour until it doubles in size. The naan bread dough has been proving for about an hour and has pretty much doubled in size. So what I want to do is get it out of the bowl and onto a floured worktop. Dust some flour over the top of the dough. And what I want to do is roughly this into about 6 pieces. I should get 6 fairly good naans out of this batch of dough. Take them out. Take one piece of dough at a time. A little bit of flour. What I'll do is roll them into roughly a teardrop shape, which is traditionally the shape that naan bread is made in. I'm going to slightly open them out a little bit because it will mean that they can be rolled up around a filling. Traditionally, naan bread is baked in a tandoor oven, which is the teardrop shaped oven that's used in Indian cookery. I'm going to do it in a dry pan. Now check the temperature, just by a couple of drops of water. They sizzle and evaporate immediately. Carefully bring the dough across and pop it into the pan. And it won't take long to cook because the pan is quite hot. The smell from the pan as the naan bread started to cook is really wonderful. I'm just going to check this, turn it over. You can start to see it's taken on a nice colour. So I'll give this a quick turnover, and as you can see, looking like a proper naan bread should. Very happy with that. I'm going to take this off, put it in the cooling rack, and work my way through the rest of the dough. And after literally just a few minutes, we've got 6 beautiful naan bread, which will work really well with a curry, any sort of sauce like that. They also work perfectly well as a flatbread, and by making them that little bit bigger, you have something that you can actually wrap and fold around the filling. There you go, folks. It's up to you. Really, really easy. 6 large naan bread for not very much money, and I guarantee you'll not get anything that will taste as good